Greetings, everyone. Hello and welcome. It's the Black Shadow here. Hope you guys are keeping yourselves fairly well, enjoying your summers, enjoying the warmth. I can confirm it's certainly very, very warm here in the UK. We're in the midst of our second official heat wave, I think, of the year. So much so that I end up putting down £400 for a portable AC unit because damn if I'm going to be suffering through that stuff for the next 2-3 months. Not a chance. But yeah, hopefully you guys are keeping yourselves well. The channel here, Black Shadow Incorporated, still in the midst of its period of effective hiatus, due to the fact that I have been stuck on a night shifts at work, which has largely restricted my ability to do recordings of any kind of particular length and commitment. The TLDR on that is that is coming to an end, which I will get to momentarily. But there's a lot of news to cover in regards to the channel, upcoming stuff. I'm sure folks will want me to talk about stuff like Resident Evil Requiem, which I'll get to in a moment. But I do need to make an announcement to begin this video, which is one that I do not have any joy in making. And that is, unfortunately, those of you guys that have been around for the channel a while will probably know about Izumi. Izumi has been a member of our community for the past several years or so, and for those that have enjoyed the raffle that we've done for Resident Evil Outbreak, he was a big progenitor in helping to put that together and come up with stipulations, and playing Outbreak online was a real backbone in the majority of the content we did in regards to that. It is with great sadness to let you guys know that Izumi passed away several months or so ago. I only found out about 4-6 weeks ago. Unfortunately, there were issues in trying for the family to get in contact with a lot of his online connections, ourselves included. But yeah, unfortunately, Izumi passed away, which was of a huge surprise to me, and with huge sadness for ourselves here at the our community, and hurts a hell of a lot. Yeah, when I first heard about it and I read about it, I was just like, I had to double take, and I was like, wait, what? It's one of those things where to begin with, you don't really believe it, yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking. In regards to like Izumi as such as well, like he had been doing content over his channel. He's done a whole lot of stuff in regards to with speedrunning, both with Resident Evil and other things as well. In fact, he was even at PACE 2024. This was a charity event that was being held to raise money for urban arts in the area around like Maryland, New York, that sort of thing. And Zoom was there. This is him joining with the professor for a speed run for Professor Sly, as Zoomy down there in the background. This was back in November. So yeah, huge, really terrible news to hear. And I'm hoping that once we get the channel a bit more up and running, that we can do something in regards to it. There are looks and plans of hosting like a memorial Outbreak raffle stream. We've just got to sit down and get everything up and running so that we can kind of do something more proper for that. But yeah, really sad news, and sorry to bring it to you guys. Sorry to start the video on such a downer, but that's the way it goes down sometimes. Let's talk about video games, and we'll have to start off with Resident Evil Requiem, which was announced very recently by Capcom. Resident Evil 9 will be seeing its release at the end of February 2026. First off, I will admit I was a little surprised it was going to be out that soon. I was not expecting it until the summer, realistically, but obviously very much looking forward to it. I'm going to be going on the premise that majority of you have seen at least the release trailer that came out for this a couple of weeks or so ago. If not, I would encourage you to pause this video, go on to Resident Evil's site here, residentevil.com. They have their trailer available for you to watch here as well as I believe there was also a creator's message that was released recently with a bit more background information for the game as well. Go check those out and come back because we're talking a bit of spoilers here. Okay, I'm going to assume you've done that. So yeah, Resident Evil 9 takes us into the footsteps of one Grace Ashcroft, who is the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, character, of course, from Resident Evil Outbreak. Yeah, Alyssa's dead. She died at a hotel years before the game is set, and Grace is a member of, she's an analyst for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. First things first, I can't quite yet determine whether this is kind of like a cute nod to the game's past, or if this is going to be something of more significant detail. That's we're not going to know for a little bit of time. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But yeah, very much super interesting thread for someone, of course, that has played so much Outbreak and has had so much interaction with Outbreak as a content creator over the past many years. Super interesting. Scrolling on down here as well, again, bits and pieces from the video, and I'm sure it'll be super interesting. As far as the locations, yeah, it looks like we are going to be heading back to the ruins of Raccoon City, at least for a little bit here, and the state of it since the missile strike. This is the RPD here, of course, what's left of it. There's the bell tower over there, the main hall area that way. It's seen better days, we'll go with that. Now, I have had the theory for the longest time for Resident Evil 9, and I still stand by it, that I think that this game is going to be the ultimate swan song for Chris and Jill for the series. I've had this for the longest time. Certainly, in regards to kind of thinking back to the ending of Resident Evil Village, and very much hinting at kind of like the corruption of the BSAA from the organization, obviously, that was going around the world and stopping people from using bioweapons, to kind of getting consumed by itself, and then soldiers being created that are like monsters, effectively, and that being hinted at. And my honest opinion is that this was going to be probably a return to Raccoon City's more sort of its old roots, and especially with Jill, who I do think over the past sort of 12-18 months has kind of been sort of soft relaunch back into the mind of the Resident Evil franchise. You had Resident Evil Death Island, you're obviously talking about with Jill and kind of what's happened to her since Resident Evil 5, because it's been such a long time in the channel, and kind of the effects the virus has had on her and such. And when you think about it, like, Chris is like 55 or something at this point, Jill's pushing the best part of 50 as well, and there has to be a point where you probably have to kind of like, I want to say move on from them. They're big, heavy bastions of nostalgia, but there comes a point where it just realistically becomes kind of a bit absurd, where they're becoming like main characters in the franchise. So we'll kind of see how that goes on. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm less confident about it now, admittedly, but we'll see how that goes. One thing that's also been noted as well is that apparently there's going to be the ability to change between first and third person views of playing the game, which is interesting. Definitely, there are pros and cons to both. Playing in the Resident Evil engine, in the third person camera, has been really good for like the remakes. But of course, I think back to my first time playing Resident Evil 7 in first person with Jack going around and that sort of thing, and it was an absolute blast of a time. So interesting that there's going to be abilities to change between the two, and I'm sure there's going to be things, features and things in the game which might influence you to change between perspectives as you go. We'll see how that plays out, but definitely I will be looking to get hold of this on release. I'll be doing it on release on the channel. I'll be booking some time off as well in order to be able to sit down and play this a bit more properly when it comes out, and it should be a lot of fun. Now, the one thing I do need to make a mention of before we move on here is, of course, the ties to Resident Evil Outbreak being presented by Requiem. Caught me off guard, for sure. Did not expect it, did not plan for it. But this does feed into the fact that for the longest time now, people have been clamoring. There's been a lot of talk about Resident Evil Outbreak and kind of its setting and everything going on, and certainly from a more personal standpoint, considering again I've put so much effort into Outbreak and I've played stuff like it, obviously spent time with Resident Evil Resistance, which is kind of the closest thing the series has come to it since those games back in the mid-2000s. Does Requiem's connections to Outbreak, does it hint at a possibility that Outbreak might actually be coming back to Resident Evil? I know I want the answer to be, Whether I actually think that's the answer or not is definitely another question. But I've definitely always felt like, the world of Outbreak and how it worked in like the Resident Evil engine, I think would still be absolutely fantastic and could be really a whole blast. It's why I put in a way so much time into Resident Evil Resistance, because it was not Outbreak. There's definitely vibes of it, and it was definitely a game that I enjoyed a lot for its flaws, and there definitely were some flaws in it. There's no question about that, but I certainly enjoyed my time with it on the whole, until it became kind of a turret shooter. But less said about that, the better. But regardless, we'll see more, I guess, down the line, whether this is just a cute nod to the series history or whether it really does mean there is something cooking behind the scenes. Because I'm not going to lie, if that was legitimately true, it'd probably be even more important to me than Resident Evil Requiem. And I'm not joking. And I'm not joking. So next up on the news here, other things to cover about is, they're doing Resident Evil Requiem. Guess what they're also doing? Surprise, surprise. It is official that Bloober Team are in the process of working on a remake for the original Silent Hill. This was confirmed as there was a teaser trailer, and one of the Konami's their events, and they had a snippet of the theme, as you can see here, play the top, and then Silent Hill in development, and that's all we know. We have no further news about this. There's obviously been plenty of speculation regarding what's going to happen with Silent Hill since Silent Hill 2 was released a few months or so ago. And Silent Hill 2 was a lot of fun. Like, really, really enjoyed it. I think it was a really good title. I think they did a really good job of it as well. All things considered, they set themselves a really high bar of it, and I think they did a very good job in delivering it. The question was going to be what was going to happen next. Were they going to go forward to, say, Silent Hill 3, which seemed maybe the more likely thing from a technological aspect, or would they go back and do the first game instead, which is the much more bigger job for development, for producing. I don't want to say, like, when Silent Hill 2 was announced, I did say it was not a bad spot to start with because it's kind of its own isolated story in amongst kind of the wider Silent Hill franchise. And while you're not exactly, let's just upscaling from what Silent Hill 2 had, you can use the way the game looks and present it as a very solid baseline. Silent Hill 1 doesn't work like that. It's not over the shoulder or anything like that. It is very much, the Silent Hill 1 came, 1998, 1999? It's a very old game, and it definitely, if you're going to look to remake it, you've kind of basically got to rebuild it from the ground up, and it's going to be a lot of work in order to do that. However, definitely, I think it will be very interesting to see how it comes off. Again, any remake of any of these old games are going to have a huge bar to meet, and certainly with the very first game, I think it will be fascinating to see how this comes about. Could be a while until we see more details on this, until we even look at the release date. You might not see it we're not going to see it this year. You might not even see it in 2026. There's other stuff going on with like Silent Hill F and whatever else anyway, so there will be Silent Hill to keep covered. But yeah, Silent Hill 1's on the way, kids, as a remake. God, I hope they do it right. So last thing I want to chat about is us here on the channel and what are the plans going forward. So as I've mentioned previously, being stuck on night shifts has largely meant the channel's been kind of stuck in regards to content. I haven't actually produced a Let's Play video for this channel since mid-February. Well, that's when it got uploaded. And yeah, it's been quite a wild journey since then. However, my time on night shifts is coming towards an end. We are within the space of weeks now, which is great. And once I do get onto an actual proper day shift schedule, I will be able to start committing my time a bit more properly back into doing content. I talked a bit about what that's going to look like probably in the last update video I did about 6 weeks or so ago, and the fact that it's not going to be like, I'm not going to be able to do like daily videos like continuously. It's going to be a bit kind of, there'll be stretches of content, stretches of not being so much. I'll be picking and choosing what I'll be doing probably a bit more. However, that is mainly on the YouTube side. There is hopes to get back to doing at least like a weekly stream over on Twitch. What that's going to feature, I legitimately don't quite know at this point. However, I do know what it's going to be starting with, and that is going to be courtesy of a Patreon request from Argeris over on the channel. Huge thanks to them. It is going to be my first ever play of Demon Souls, the 2020 remake of the original game from, I think, 2009. Originally released on PlayStation 3. It got re-released a few years ago on PlayStation 5. This will be the first Souls game I have ever played in my life. I've never played anything like the Dark Souls series, Bloodborne, none of it. I've obviously seen it. I know about the franchise, know about all the stuff it entails, but I've never actually sat down and played any of them. This will be my first. I'll be playing it live on Twitch. It'll probably be towards the back end of August, maybe going to September. Depends slightly on the temperature and how my schedule plays out a little bit. But yeah, I'm very excited to see how this is going to go. I may be slightly frightened. It could go really badly. I might get slaughtered, but I think it'll be a really lot of fun. And especially, I think nowadays as well, like most people have played some Souls of some kind or another. And so it is, I think, fairly rare to have people legitimately playing Souls games for the first time. So being able to bring that on live on stream on Twitch, I think will be a lot of fun. I'll need to play around with myself a bit to kind of get it working. I'm hoping I'll probably have to do it via my PS5 and capture card it in, because the PC I've got at the moment is starting to show real signs of wear. It is getting up poorly in its old age, and I do need to get a new one probably towards the back end of this year. So that is the plan. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be chaotic. Will we have a death counter? I generally hate that stuff. I'm sure someone will keep track of that. We'll see how that stuff goes. But yeah, that is the plan for late August of this year. Other than that, that's pretty much it here, kids. Yeah, it's been surprisingly busy over the last 6 months. And the last 6 weeks as well have been kind of wild too. I do still miss having the channel, and it has such not being able to do anything for this in like several months. This channel is kind of part of my identity now. I've talked about this from time to time, and like I think back to when I started this channel back in, was it 2013, late 2013. I've talked about the fact that if you look at some of like my oldest videos and how awkward I am. The fact is that who I was as a person and then kind of who I was becoming on, like, with doing these videos and kind of like helping express myself a lot better were two very different people. But that over the course of time have very much merged into one. And I really do credit me doing this channel with kind of like helping to find who I am as a person and finding a lot more sort of confidence and kind of, you know, interact with people, speaking on a bigger scale and just, yeah, and obviously I've been able to meet a lot of really great people over the course of this as well. I've met several of them in person too, which has been super awesome. And I definitely don't regret ever starting this channel. It's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So yeah, not being able to do any content for like the past several months has sucked. And it has hurt. So I am excited to get back into doing some content of this. Maybe in a way, having been away from it for several months has given me a bit of chance to get some perspective, deal with some other things on the side, but maybe having that extended breaks, maybe sometimes just what you need from this sort of thing, just so that when I do get back into it properly, I can get back to it in you know, a much more invigorated state. That's assuming it's not like 32 degrees or something, which it currently is. It is damp on here. I need to turn the AC back on. It is sweltering, but you'll be able to hear me if I had it on, so I will call it here. Thank you much for watching and listening. Thanks to everyone who has been watching through all the old series as well. I do read comments if you put them, watching through a lot of my old content. If you put comments in and YouTube decides to tell me about them, I do read them. I'll try my best to respond to them. Folks have a habit of like referring to things in this series that I simply don't remember. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing. That was weird. We've covered a lot of ground over 12 years, quite frankly. So it's hard to remember everything. Basically, what I'm saying is, please put a timestamp. It'd be much appreciated. But yeah, once things are settled down, I know a bit more what's going on, and my schedule settles down, I will come back to you probably in about a month or so with some more firm dates of when things are going to be going and what we're going to be doing. But yeah, the hiatus of the channel will not be lasting for too much longer. We hope. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.